we wait and see what the National Assembly will do to confirm the complete operationalization of this state of emergency. But my fear is that the crisis in Rivers State is almost like an ethnic crisis between the Ijaw and the other ethnic groups in Rivers State. The Ijaw people are feeling isolated, alienated by some of the actions of the predecessor of Simila Fubara, who is the current Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike. So we pray that this could not boomerang into crisis. We pray that so many of the citizens of that area will not say they will want to resist this particular state of emergency. However, it is important that all of us keep calm and wait for the system to play out, and that people in the Delta need to a little bit calm down and look through the law. If you don't feel like the state of emergency is done on equitable terms, then you pass through the mechanisms of the law and try to challenge it. But the situation whereby you try to take the laws into your hand is going to be morang into a lot of crisis. Remember, we have a lot of crisis already in the north, especially the northwest and the northeast and the north central. We also have crisis in the southeast. If we now allow south, which is the economic backbone of Nigeria, more particularly Rivers State, where nearly 45% of the oil that brings forex to Nigeria, get into crisis, then the whole country is going to experience a very serious economic downturn to the tune that is unimaginable. So therefore, it is not a good thing now that we should take one side or the other, but to try to seek conciliation. People like us are asking for the suspension of the minister of the FCT, because he is also part of the instigators. That will bring about some semblance of balance and justice, but the two culprits are now paying the price for instigating a crisis that led to the declaration of state of emergency in that particular state. So maybe if Wike 2 is suspended, you have Simila Fubara, as suspended, then maybe there could be some balance and some people will not feel like they are shortchanged. But we, the ordinary citizens, need to pick calm. Let us not instigate the crisis, let us not take side, and let us manage the situation very carefully so that there can be no nasty and negative reaction.
Aye, right. That is a garbage from somewhere in northern Nigeria. The NBA and their reaction. But before we even get to that, or further reactions, here is the position of the man that actually gave Tiknumbu the legal advice to go ahead and declare a state of emergency in Rivers State, Ifagbe, Attorney General of Nigeria.
Don't forget, I think yesterday there was a notice of impeachment from the House of Assembly. If that impeachment had been allowed to take its full course, then the governor would have lost entirely and completely. So in a way, if you say it's a compromise, I will agree that instead of allowing the impeachment process to continue, and which in the end would have seen both the governor and the deputy governor out of office and mean out for the entirety of the 4-year term, with the remainder of what we have. We have 1 year, I think about 9 months now. So leaving is it a balance or so of 2 years and 2 months? Thank you. 2 years, 2 months. So if normalcy returns, some other things may come in. But for now, well, maybe it's a compromise. I will agree. The extraordinary situations. The second one is about removing the governor, removing the deputy governor. You see, you decide each case on its own peculiar facts and circumstances. Who are the people involved? Who are the parties involved in this saga? They are the governor, members of the House of Assembly. So who else should have been affected? I've heard this funny argument. I'm sorry for saying it is funny because it doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, that the president should have just gone there to secure the pipelines and then come back. When some people are there and vandals to come in. The action of the president is what happened is the effect of a fundamental cause, and you cannot be treating the cause, the effect, in order to cure the cause. What was the cause? The governor and members of the House of Assembly. So you don't try to. You have to behave responsibly, and you must have the guts. If it happens again, I will encourage Mr. President to do the same, maybe this time with even greater vigor and vitality. So the question of separating or treating or giving preferential treatment to anybody does not arise. You give preferential treatment to anybody, you are giving preferential treatment to hooliganism. Let's call a spade a spade. This is where I believe that we should put up our patriotism cap. It shouldn't be about individual. It should not be about anybody. It should be about the entity called Nigeria. But in this case, the River State. So, it is River State's turn today. It can be anybody's turn tomorrow. Let the signal be clearly signed for those who want to foment trouble, who want to make the practice of democracy and enjoyment of this variant of democracy a mirage, to think twice. So, I answered the question by saying I return the resounding no to the quest that the governor and deputy governor should have been spared, or the members of the House of Assembly. They were all in it. So, then the other one is about compromise. What remains is, if the National Assembly feels that the president has not done well, then you won't have the 2/3 majority required to validate his action. Certainly, you know, it's like a situation in which the veto usually is on the side or with Mr. President when a bill is presented. But the converse is the same here, that it is the president who is initiating a move. I want to declare a state of emergency. He has to make that move, and he made that clear in his speech, in his broadcast yesterday, that I've taken this decision and I've referred the matter to the National Assembly. It is for the National Assembly to now say we veto. That is to say, we don't give you approval. And since the National Assembly is still in session, we expect that within 48 hours, something will come out of it. So if whoever has any misgiving, any concern, I would say should channel it to the National Assembly to say, don't give the required 2/3 approval that is they need. Otherwise, we should all, like I said, continue to put up our patriotism cap. Then the last in the series.
Sorry about that. You heard him loud and clear that he believes that Tinubu has acted rightly. And it should also, this should also be a sign or a warning to other people that might want to foment trouble. It is the turn of Rivers State today. It will be the turn. It will be the turn of any other state tomorrow. So he can remove governors at whenever he, whenever it feels like or advised to. There is no breakdown of law and order in Rivers State prior to this announcement. There has not been any breakdown of law and order. The National Assembly that was supposed to be the first point of call for Tinubu is now his last point of call. And he's already said it there that even if the National Assembly fails to approve it, Tinubu will veto it, which means the declaration of the state of emergency stays. Here is Seriake Dixon, a PDP senator, is positioned on this, And why today, when Akpabio raised the issue, they had to hurriedly adjourn because they need 73 members of the Nigerian Senate. They need 240 members in the the House of Representatives, as well as 73 members in the Senate to approve this declaration. If they reject it, that simply means that the declaration made by Tifnumbu becomes null and void. But they are already talking about veto power, where if the National Assembly rejects this, Tifnumbu has already sworn in an administrator. Anyway, here is the position of one of the senators. The first one is Seriake Dixon.
Today, and a decision, the process, a decision reached, but it appears as though there was very little discussion, and the whole process has been adjourned.
No. It's not so. Charles, yes, Nigerians have a right to expect, after all, we are their representatives. We're elected by them to represent them. And I know that expectation is high, and we could have done it today. But you see, the Constitution has prescribed rules. This emergency rule is a very serious constitutional development.
Indeed.
It's one of the most serious constitutional developments. And the framers of the Nigerian Constitution took their time, not only in regulating strictly the conditions under which it can be imposed. And let me be clear, none of this talks about removal of elected officials. None of it. In other words, the expectation is that the president, even when he declares a state of emergency, can do so to strengthen and aid the elected officials, not to replace them.
So if it's that important, why didn't you guys discuss it today?
By the Constitution, after the declaration, which the president has done, what he has done has not actually completed the declaration. The president has only started the process.
Yeah, but he's sworn in the administration.
Yes, whatever he has done is inchoate. It has not crystallized. The powers of emergency under Section 305 have not crystallized. In other words, legally speaking, constitutionally speaking, there's no effective emergency rule now.
Until it is.
Until the Senate and the House,
right,
the National Assembly, collectively speaking, by 2/3 majority. You see how the Constitution recognizes that it's an extraordinary situation.
Right.
Now, the constitutional requirement is for the president to forward that proclamation to the National Assembly.
Well, he said he has.
And it has to be gazetted and sent.
He said he has.
Now, when they receive, the Speaker and the Senate President, as they normally do every morning, they will read communications from the executive. That has to be presented.
Right.
Once that is presented, then the process of the National Assembly's participation in this emergency rule process has kicked in.
Well,
for now,
right,
today we expected it. I was there. A lot of members were there. And we all have our views. There may be some who are in support, but I can tell you it will be a difficult thing to get it passed. And let me tell you, the Constitution says 2/3 majority. In other words, of the total number, not of the people who are present.
Right.
But there are some of us who, because we take this seriously, it's an ideological issue. It's not just personal. It's not because of Sim Fubara. It's not because of Amehule. It's not because it's an APC government doing it. No. It is, for some of us, ideological. It has to be a matter of protecting the sovereignty of the peoples of Rivers State and then the democratic rights within our constitutional
Would you
democracy.
be surprised if the Senate passes that?
I'll be very surprised. First of all,
move by the president?
Oh yes, because it has to be supported by 2/3 of members.
Well, you need at least 73
about
senators.
73 senators.
Yeah.
Not only will you have 73 senators in attendance, it means that of the members who are present, you understand? 73 must vote in support. The same number that can enthrone a leadership of the 2/3. In the case of the House of Reps, 240 members. In the case of the Nigerian Senate, where I'm a member, 73 of us will have to agree. Okay? And some of us, as I've said, for ideological consistency, in defense of the democracy of our country, in defense of the Constitution, in defense of the sovereignty of the peoples of Rivers State, we are ideologically opposed to it.
Right. Yes. This is, of course,
again, this is meant to be a bigger showdown. Like you say, okay, well, this makes sense because at the National Assembly, APC, out of 360 House of Representative members, APC, controls about 197 or so. So which means they need extra 60 to 70, 60 or so extra from the opposition to join them to pass it. The Senate, out of 109 members, APC, currently have 58 members. The remaining 51 members or senators, they are opposition. So they are going to need enough number of these guys to make up the 73. It's getting interesting. To Jimo Ibrahim, who is also a senator on the side of Tifnumbu, to him, he's done nothing wrong, and they will pass and approve the declaration of emergency in Rivers State. His own position.
Yes. My colleague wants to know, what's your take on the decision of the Senate not taking the proclamation of the president?
That is the beauty of the Senate. The Senate is a democratic institution, and the Senate has given room for more members who is not aware of this yesterday but got to know about it today to be able to come tomorrow and air their views. Democracy is about numbers, it's about participation. So what we are saying is that we can adjourn it tomorrow in order to give room for more people to come. We formed quorum today. 68 people were signed the register. If you now accept 17 leaders of the Senatorate, we are more than a quorum. We could as well go on. But we don't want to say, oh, it was 3 o'clock they brought it, when members are already praying, they are fasting, and then there were not many people on the floor. That's the time they passed the proclamation. No. First thing tomorrow morning, information will go to other members. Some members are fasting, they are praying in their homes. Tomorrow they will be here, and then by 10 o'clock, we pick it up. We are in tandem with Mr. President. I am in tandem with Mr. President, because this borders on life and security. We don't joke with life and security. You know, like I said, Thomas Soup said, life of human being will be solemnly poor, brutish. And then, of course, it will be, unheard of if the Leviathan will stop doing nothing when it's supposed to do something when there's a threat to life and property. And let me say, the president did not dissolve democratic institutions. This president only suspended for 6 months. And these 6 months will enable parties to go to the table, iron out their differences, and come so that there can be peace in Rivers State and by extension Nigeria. So I think the president have acted in accordance with the Constitution. It was Professor Wamboze who said clearly that the president of Nigeria have right duty to protect and enforce the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. To do otherwise will be disastrous.
Some stakeholders have said what is happening in Rivers is very enough for a state of emergency. The president talked about vandalization of pipelines. There are agencies that have that responsibility to safeguard the pipelines. Why hold the government responsible for that?
Maybe people don't understand what is happening. Let me use you as a woman as an example. When you put hot water on the pot and you put fire in your cylinder, you can put your hand inside the water and be playing. In 10 minutes, will your hand remain there? Who will tell you to remove your hand? Because the steam of the water has come up, so you cannot avoid to put your hand. Without anybody telling you, you remove your hand quickly. But when you first put the water inside the hot pot, you can put your hand and be playing, even when you put fire. So this is exactly how war looks like. It starts brimming up. The earlier you quench the fire, the better for you. Otherwise, you're going to get your fingers burned. And that's what the president have done. And there's no amount of money you spend on protecting life and property that is too small. No, it's painful. A liberalist like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we ordinarily don't want to declare a state of emergency. If you read his speech, he said, he started Supreme Court, I intervened, I call this, I call that. These are liberalists. Realists who are, we Buhari write that kind of speech. No, this guy's a realist who is exhaustive with power. And they're just going to declare, I tell you, I spoke to that. He will declare, remove people, governor with 4 legislators before. But here we have a liberalist trying to do sanity of democracy being protected, So we must appreciate the fact. I as a senator, like I said, I'm very much intended because I don't joke with issues of security. This is very important.
Some people have accused the president of being biased because he instigated this crisis. First of him, and he never cautioned him at this point in time.
The president
the big stick went to the government.
Yeah, the president is not the Supreme Court. I think if you said the president is biased, what about the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court went far than the president. The president, when the High Court says, keep the money of Rivers State in escrow account, Supreme Court said no, release the money to them.